24 hours. We get up Tuesday morning to load birds on process, which is their processing day. They're living in the pen at large, they're leaving, they're going to processing, okay? So 111 in here, 3 in what we call a recovery pen. Those birds would have been moved over there because of having had some lack of uniformity of growth, meaning they were runts or they didn't keep up with growth, or might have had birds over there that had injury. So 111 here, 3 over there, that's 114 out of 126. So we did lose 12 birds to mortality that was basically natural causes of the propensity of this type of bird to grow rapidly. And there are occasions, regardless of good management practices, and regardless of whether you raise them indoors or raise them in a pasture or raise them in a chicken tractor, there are instances where the rapid growth of the bird simply outgrows the internal organs function ability to keep up, okay? So at any rate, so we did lose 12. 2 of those were runts, and they were basically failure to thrive early on, like the first week, and then 10 of those ended up heart distress. And we know that they were because we have practiced discerning the telltale signs of heart failure in broilers, okay? So we're at 111 definitely going. Of the 3 in the recovery pen, 1 I don't think will go. It had an injured leg, did recover, but never got the feed to meat conversion in that thigh and drumstick area. So going to have that bird stay here, and undecided at this point how that's going to turn out. The other 2 that are over there in the recovery pen are runts, and they've grown quite a bit, so they might actually get to go. In this pen at large, we only have 1 bird that's totally gone down on its legs. I'm going to go ahead and show you all that so you know what it looks like. And when I say a broiler has totally gone down on its legs, it means that its posture has changed to such an extent from the rapidness, whatever, pick the right word. From its rapid growth, its posture has changed to the point where its legs are like out in front of it, and it can't, it's this one. Very difficult then at this point for this bird to maneuver itself up onto its legs. So at this point in production, this is not really an issue at this point in production. This bird is healthy. Its legs just broke down. It outgrew its legs, and that is an unfortunate possibility in these kind of birds, okay? So you can see like the awkward posture of the bird's legs. Here's when this is a problem. If we get this leg breakdown any earlier than now, that bird is going to be compromised getting to food and getting to water. And unless somebody takes the time to separate that bird out of the flock so it doesn't have to compete with healthy, thriving birds for resources, and somebody takes the time to actually take food and take water to that bird, and somebody takes the time to help that bird exercise manually and put some weight on its legs, unless those things happen for these birds that their legs break down, they're not going to get nourishment, they're not going to get hydration because the legs broke down, they can't get to food and water. Now, the fact that literally, like this legs birds, we've just seen this just here, like in the last 24 hours with this bird's legs breaking down, and we're fixing to take feed away. So the concern with this bird, though, is what? It's going to have to get to water, right? And it needs to move some. Now, with some of these birds, if they manage, if they manage to get up, and it can kind of get its legs under it, so if they can manage to get up, they can move some. But, you know, overall, the quality of life for a bird that's legs go out, it's not going to have quality of life. And you got to have a lot of serious intervention from the flock keeper to help that bird. But so over the evening and before we go to transport, load and transport, we're going to make sure we're getting water to that bird so that that bird isn't having to struggle and suffer to get to water. We're also going to make sure that we are getting that bird up and holding it, but helping it bear a little bit of its weight onto its legs. But see, you know, All the other birds, you see how that one just got up, walked to the water, okay? So that's the norm throughout the flock. And we just have that one that here at the end of production, right about the time of total feed withdrawal, we're seeing that leg breakdown. But I've seen flocks in other instances where you start to see that leg breakdown early. And so that's why you can see now we've got birds sitting down at the feeders, possibly sitting down at waters. Yeah, this one is still sitting down and was getting a drink there. But that's why you do want to try to elevate the trays for these birds when they eat and drink, so that it will compel them, like this, to be standing up when they are eating and drinking. If they have to stand up to eat and drink, that helps keep their legs strong. And that's also a good reason to exercise them, come in and make them move. And pasturing them is not a surefire bet that they're going to exercise enough. They might, but even outside, this is their propensity, their tendency. They just want to lay down and stay in one place and get comfortable, okay? So what we're doing as we go from this point on to load and transport time, the morning of processing, we're going to be visiting these birds frequently through the afternoon, through the evening, overnight, and in the morning early to walk the birds around the pen and to keep the water filled with fresh water. And so we'll be walking them around the pen for a couple reasons. When you walk them around the pen, it compels them to go to, if food's their food, but we're going to have taken it away, but it will compel them to go to water. We need them to drink. Walking them around the pen will also compel them to exercise a little bit, which will be very manageable for them as the sun, isn't out, and as the temperatures cool a bit overnight. It'll be very manageable for them to get some gentle exercise, and that will help complete the digestion process from what they finished eating right before feed withdrawal here. And that's what we need to be paying attention to between feed withdrawal and processing time, is that they move around and that they drink water. And the reason we want those two things to happen is those two things facilitate digestion. And the purpose of total feed withdrawal is to make sure that there's not feed in the digestive system, undigested feed in the digestive system when the bird goes to processing, and to make sure there's not any of the manure load involved in the processing system. So we want to clear that out of the bird prior to them actually going into processing. That's why the feed withdrawal is recommended 12 to 18 hours prior to processing, and that's why we do want to move them around and have them drinking water even after feed withdrawal, before we take them to processing or before you process them yourselves. So feed withdrawal is one step at the end of production, and then really to accomplish the feed withdrawal effectively and completely, we want to keep the birds moving around just moderately, like at regular intervals, and we want to keep them going to the water, okay? So that's what we'll be doing. Now that feed withdrawal, once we remove feeders and consider feed withdrawal manually accomplished, as far as just getting the feeders out of the pen, then, like I said, we'll continue to monitor the birds. We'll do those two things, gentle exercise and keep fresh water there, keep them hydrated and give them some exercise, and they'll be ready to go. And this is a great flock of meat chickens for us to start the year with. The losses sound bad to lose 12 out of 126, but for a time of year when they had to cope with ambient conditions in the beginning of production, that we had some freezing weather. Yes, we have the heat lamps, and that helps warm them up when there's freezing weather, but they're still subject to the fluctuations of ambient temperature, and that's still difficult for them to have to cope with. So we will sometimes see in flocks that had chill stress in the first 3 weeks, that affects the heart function. Doesn't kill them immediately, but will weaken the heart to the point that we're going to see increased mortality in weeks 3 through 5 in flocks that experience chill stress in weeks 1 through 3. Okay? So That's all part of it. There's a whole lot of details involved in raising Cornish rock cross meat chickens. But this is day before processing. We're basically at feed withdrawal time. So anywhere in that window of 12 to 18 hours prior to processing time is when it's recommended to do feed withdrawal for your birds. And yes, they are big. Yes, they are awkward moving, but these birds have accomplished in 36 days, the 111 that are here in the pen at large have accomplished in 36 days exactly what Cornish rock cross meat chickens are specialized to do. They have converted feed to meat at a rate that has allowed maximizing growth potential in the chickens while minimizing flock loss across the group. So thanks for joining us at Twin Oaks Family Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. We're gonna keep an eye on our birds, and I can tell you that they are doing well. One of the things that we monitor is manure quality, and their manure quality is staying normal, like the normal firmness, the normal coloring, and the normal intervals. And you see that manure quality change over feed withdrawal in the sense that there's no feed going in and they're drinking water. So gradually that consistency, like in the texture of the manure, changes a little bit. We gauge all that by visual observation in case anybody had any wonderings or qualms about discussing that. But at any rate, you know, we do know, even though they're showing, you know, it's a warm day for them, we do know that they're coping well. So actually one of the things we're fixing to do is, in addition to taking feed, is going to close up. I've got some doors open on the barn that are letting sunlight in. I'm fixing to close that, and that will help with cooling the temperature down in here. But I will still be able to leave a couple of other sides of the barn open to allow maximum airflow so the birds can continue to have that to help them cool down. So thanks for joining us, y'all. It is time for total feed withdrawal, and we'll upload this video sometime within the week of having recorded it. And we're going to also try to record them the morning that we load and transport, and then later on we'll give you some feedback on how the flock finished and the outcome of it. So thanks for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions, and we're really glad that you're part of our community here on YouTube, and we love to show you our process for raising Cornish rock cross meat chickens. So they know the feed's getting low in there, and when we take feed away, that does impact personality a little bit, because they do get hungry during that feed withdrawal, but it really helps the processing, the butchering process. Thanks, y'all. God bless you.